Evening, Jase. How's it going?
Well, it's been a good 2 weeks, isn't it? Is it 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks. Oh, dear, time flies.
Yeah, like you were saying before, when we were doing the weekly, it was weekly, or it still is weekly, but when we were just rolling them off, it didn't seem like a week in between them, did it?
No. Well, it doesn't seem like 2 weeks since this one, to be honest. But of all the weekends to miss, the football last weekend, I wanted to talk to you about on the Monday. I was like, whoa, some cracking results. Anyway, cheers. I got a beer, yeah. So.
Yeah. Cheers. You too.
Cheers.
Yeah, I wish I had one as well. Yes, my Turkish tea. Yes, so you went out to London to see a show on not on Broadway, on the West End.
Yeah. So it was really good. But obviously watched. We had a hotel near Tower Bridge, which had a swimming pool, and Sarah went in to sort of exercise her arm and that. And I decided to watch Liverpool Man United on my phone because I've got Sky Go. So I was watching it on my phone, and I couldn't believe it. I just really couldn't believe it. They could have got 6 or 7, or maybe even 8, to be fair. Unbelievable. I'm waiting all my life to see Liverpool. Well, I say all my life. I've certainly been waiting since 1977 to see Liverpool destroy Man United like that. I enjoyed a second of it, to be fair. So there we go.
I mean, it was almost 10 years to the day since City won there, with that 6-1. So
yeah, that's why I was praying for a 6 goal, because I thought it would be a better result than Man City. But there we go.
Yeah, and to be honest though, I'm just thinking the way Man City sort of spluttering a bit at the moment, because they're playing United this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised to see United turn the tables and suddenly for the everybody be looking at what's going on at City. Yeah.
Yes, they did Tottenham yesterday. And got guys the sack.
Yeah. I think we predicted he'd get the sack. Just wasn't the right fit, and they really it goes back to getting rid of Pochettino. They should never have got rid of him. And
no.
On the other side of the coin, the guy at Wolves, I don't even know his name. What's the name of the manager at Wolves now?
Oh, I can't remember.
We should know that, but
I can't.
But anyway, they've picked up Wolves. They're on a bit of a roll. So
and Palace, Palace were awesome against City as well.
Yeah, they played a good game. I think the thing of that game though is they got the early goal. That's a similar pattern to previous games where City have had difficulties. They got the early goal. If they hadn't got that early goal, then City would have just kept pegging away. But I think also in that City game, Laporte, he was responsible for the first goal, and then he got sent off. I think Guardiola's right. Some refs would have given a yellow, for example, earlier in the day, like they gave Johnny Evans, and also going back to that Liverpool game that City played when Milner didn't.
You're still barking on about Milner. I'm not having it, mate. I'm not having it.
Yeah,
but
I
saw you were barking on about Twitter.
Yeah, but I thought.
There's the tweet of a bitter City fan. I thought.
Yeah, well, I am bitter about it because the referees, it's career reffing. It's not reffing by, as you see it. It's career reffing.
All right, let me just ask you one question then, right? Let's just hypothetically say that Liverpool City game, Liverpool versus, I don't know, Burnley or whatever, right? And the same incident happened. You wouldn't be barking on about it 3 weeks later.
No, because
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right, because I'm not a Burnley fan, and I wouldn't still be thinking about it. but Burnley fans would.
The Burkers.
But Burnley fans would be. And on the other side of the coin, I'm sure there are some things that you're still thinking about. Liverpool issues you still think about from back in the day. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Well,
we'll come back to that a bit later, Jase.
Yeah, all right.
So yeah, like we missed a couple of weeks. So obviously, for the first few days, I thought, oh, I'm struggling to think of things to talk about, and then things picked up a bit. So going back a couple of weeks, I think there was some midweek fixtures, Champions League, domestic. So Patson Daka, is it Patson Daka for Leicester? He got all 4 in Moscow for Leicester.
Yeah.
Okay, you get 3 sometimes, but 4 is pretty rare. Can you think of any 4s? Maybe Ian Rush had 1 or 2 in his career. I don't know.
I know Lineker got 4 against Spain, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Mark got 5 against Cyprus. Are you thinking just in like top division sort of thing?
Well, anything. And maybe I remember Chris Townsend. I remember Chris Townsend. Did he get 5 in the first half for Cheltenham against somebody? I think it could have been Boston. They won. They were 5-0 up at half time, and he got all 5.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's going back a long time. But then they didn't score. I think it finished 5-0. It was 5-0 at half time. They won the game 5-0.
I remember Chris Burns getting 4 against Merthyr Tydfil.
Yeah, I'm sure he got 5. Chris Townsend, he got 5.
Yeah, I know. Chrissy Burns got 4 against Merthyr when he was playing as a shift striker. I can't remember Chris Townsend game.
Yeah, so I think going back a few weeks, so Liverpool consolidated. So they won in Madrid, didn't they? So you were saying they put out the youngsters, but if I remember correctly, Klopp put out a pretty strong team, didn't he? Before the United game, and they won 3-2 in Madrid. So
completely proved me wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, everybody's wrong. So we were wrong about the Wolves guy by the looks of it, but right about the Spurs. What was happening at Spurs?
Yeah.
So that looks like Liverpool are looking pretty good in that group. City won in Bruges. United got the late goal, didn't they, with Ronaldo against Atalanta after Atalanta were 2-0 up. So I think I just think it shows what's going on in the media. I mean, all the hype. So Ronaldo scored the last minute, the late winner, and then the hype. Oh yeah, I mean everything's going swimmingly, and then they go and lose to Liverpool 5-0.
West Ham in the cup.
Sorry?
West Ham in the cup.
Yeah.
In the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, West Ham beat City in the cup on penalties, mind you.
I'm saying before the Liverpool game, United lost to West Ham, didn't they?
Yeah. So it just shows United, the papers, they change from day to day. We shouldn't always take a lot of heed of what they're saying, you know what I mean?
I don't.
Yeah. I don't read the newspapers. I hardly even read the news now. So after the 5-0 against Liverpool, United are out of it. Liverpool are streets ahead of them. Okay, they might be ahead of them, but then Liverpool go and draw to Brighton at home, and United beat. Who did they beat? They beat Tottenham, didn't they? So, yeah. So, and as I said, I wouldn't be. Sorry.
Right, no pushover.
No. That's the other thing I was going to say. Do you think the other teams have caught up, or that they figured out how to play the top teams? What do you reckon's happening?
I think what's happening is that, probably more so than in recent times, that the lesser teams, for want of a better word, are raising their game against the bigger teams. And I know we always used to say, didn't we, about, you can only play what's in front of you, and sometimes you play to their level, kind of thing. I think it's a mixture of, like, the bigger teams play to the level of the lower teams, and the lower teams raise their game. And I think it kind of balances itself out over the season, personally.
Yeah, I just wonder whether they've got used as well. Maybe they're handling the pressure of these games better and are more street savvy.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think a perfect example of this will be what happens at Fratton Park tomorrow night, to be honest, because Fratton Park is not the place any team wants to go to even when they're playing poorly like they have recently, because the fan base at Fratton Park is quite awesome, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that Fratton Park, when it's got 17, 18,000 people in it, it's quite a formidable place to go to.
Yeah.
And the last time obviously Cheltenham went there, I think they lost 6-1.
Yeah.
We were saying the other week when Cheltenham were due to play them, after just getting a whooping by Sunderland, and then Pompey beat Sunderland, didn't they? So I was thinking it was going to be like a 9-0 to Portsmouth sort of thing. But actually, the way Cheltenham played against Sheffield Wednesday and then dug in again in that result, I did say actually before the Sheffield Wednesday, if Cheltenham had got 1 point out of the next 2 games, I'd have been happy with that, really. So they got the point. So maybe they can get something at Fratton tomorrow night. That'll be a classic example of teams playing to the level of teams above them. I think Cheltenham are doing that at the moment rather than playing to their own level.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy to the points that Cheltenham are picking up, but going back a few weeks there, you were saying Cheltenham had Morecambe, and then what was the game before that? They won. Sorry,
Accrington, mate.
Was it Accrington? So they beat Accrington, they beat Morecambe, and you were saying they want to pick. They've got Doncaster coming up, and then what happens? They lose at Doncaster.
I called it as well. I absolutely called it. But So they probably played to the level of Doncaster. I mean, you shouldn't be losing like that to the team. Don't care who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah. But then, I thought they'd lost at home to Wednesday, and then to get the late equaliser is great. But I was just seeing that fixture, to me, just show as a sign of the progress that Cheltenham made. I mean, Cheltenham versus Sheffield Wednesday. It's not an FA Cup once in a lifetime fixture. It was a league fixture. For me,
even tomorrow night, I know we played Portsmouth in League 2 in recent years, but we're playing Pompey at Fratton Park tonight. Pompey were the FA Cup winners in 2008.
Yeah.
They were holding teams like AC Milan 2-2 at Fratton Park.
Yeah.
It's like, hang on a minute, years gone by, if we'd have got Portsmouth in the FA Cup first round proper, we'd have been thinking, wow, what a team we play.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. You could just see as well. I was looking at the highlights. The ground. It looked like a big crowd for that game to me. So and you could see in the away end, it was pretty full in the away end. So I don't know.
Also, last Tuesday, I was going to say last Tuesday when we beat Chelsea in the whatever it is, the
EFL Trophy. Is it EFL Trophy?
Yeah. The crowd. Did you see the crowd for that?
No, I didn't. It
was like over 3,000.
Bloody hell! Wow.
For a Tuesday night for John's when we got the kids playing, unbelievable.
Oh, so that wasn't the full team then that played against Chelsea then?
No, he had most of the kids out. He had the reserve keeper. I think Alfie May played, and I think the other first team has played as well. But mainly, it was the reserves that played.
Well, that's a fantastic result then. Is that a group
Yeah,
thing?
all the kids. Yeah, all the kids took the penalties as well, and they got 5 out of 5.
That's a group thing, though. It's not a knockout. Is that right? It's a group kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a group thing. So we got points for the draw, but we also got an extra point for winning on penalties. I don't know how it works, to be honest, but it's better to be in it than out of it, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed in that Atletico Liverpool game how because Liverpool were 2-0 up, weren't they, from the early goals, and then Atletico pulled it back. But I noticed Atletico were causing problems by switching the play. So, because the Liverpool press, has caused, it's well known that they push very high. And what Atletico seemed to be doing was they seemed to be switching play. So, just spraying the ball across to the other side of the pitch where the Liverpool, and to me that seems like logical. You know, if you got the high press, then you can kind of dink it over, or you can switch it over to the other side. So that's
what Brighton were doing on Saturday.
Is that right? They did the same thing, was it?
Yeah.
So, you know, Simone downstairs for dancing, isn't it?
Upstairs for punching, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What I liked more about the 5-0 against United, the thing I liked about that more than anything else was the fact that Ronaldo was in that team. Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved it more than Kevin Keegan would have loved it, mate. Seriously. Yeah,
they don't come along too often, so you've got to relish it. So I understand.
That won't happen again in my lifetime, mate. That won't happen again.
City fans, you still see, even on Twitter, you'll still see every now and again a reference to that game or the video or something, you know, going back.
So on one of the match of the day programs, because they have the kinds of different match of the day program, you know, not just the match of the day. They've got all kinds of things. They've got match of the day, top 10 this, top 10 that, blah blah blah. So they showed the top 10 free kicks, and one of them was Rochembach from Middlesbrough against Man City. He just rocketed it. This free. Do you remember it? In the 8-1
no,
defeat.
To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen the goals from that game. Where was I? I don't even know where I was, but I remember it was Sven-Goran Eriksson's last game, I think. So, and the players, I think the players had just given up. So,
one, and it wasn't that long ago in history terms.
No. Yeah. No, I don't think I've seen that goal. I don't think I've seen it.
You'll look at it on YouTube.
Was that the season Middlesbrough got to the UEFA Cup final, whatever it was called, or was that another season? It was around that time, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah. It might have been, yeah. But seriously, look it up on YouTube. Rochembach's free kick against Man City. Unbelievable strike. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I saw one the other day. Michael Tarnat for Man City. He scored against Blackburn away, and usually a free kick. It's not far outside from the D or whatever. This was like halfway in the. It was like halfway in the half. He's just one of these Germans that, you always think, why can Germans hit a free kick better than we can? And he just runs out. It was like, and he hit it from it like it was like halfway in the half. And Brad Friedel, it went so hard. Brad Friedel in Blackburn's goal didn't even have time to move his feet.
No, there was the guy in this list of free kicks. I can't remember what his name was, but he scored for. Who was he even playing for? I can't remember who he was even playing for. But it was against Wigan, and he had this free kick about 5 yards inside his own half, from the halfway line, and Wigan is just walking around like, who's he going to ping it to, kind of thing. And he hit it like Bavistock. You know, when Bavistock used to hit it from like not even moving.
Yeah.
Right? He hit it like Bavistock. It just went and it went and it went and it went. And just before it got to the keeper, it went. it just deviated a little bit. The keeper was like, all at sea, as my granddad would say.
I don't know what goal was that. What goal was that?
I can't remember. It was either, was it Watford or somebody like that? I can't remember, but it was an absolute scorcher. And the keeper was just like, what I've just been done like a kipper here, you know.
Yeah.
But he had no backlift on it at all. No backlift. He just stood there and just smacked it, you know. Unbelievable.
Yeah, let's just step outside the league for a bit. So FA Trophy, third qualifying round. So I think the next round will be the first round proper. So you were talking about Marske. So I reckon they must be a northern team, because I'm going to read you a scoreline. It's Bridlington 0, Marske 7. So they're into the first round of the FA Trophy.
Was that That wasn't Bridlington Terriers, was it?
I don't know. Are they Terriers? I don't know.
Bridlington Terriers, I'm thinking of.
What's a Sutton Coldfield 0, Newcastle? That's the Newcastle underlying 0, and Sutton Coldfield won 5-4 on penalties. Matlock 2, AFC Rushden and Diamonds 1. So have they reformed, or is that just the same Rushden and Diamonds?
No, they reformed.
So Max Griggs, I don't know, is he still around, or I mean, is he just? Sorry,
I've no idea. Wasn't he something to do with Dr. Martin?
Yeah, he was. He was the owner of Dr. Martin's.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's involved with Rushden anymore.
Yeah, Froome 3, Pool 2. So that's pool out of another cup competition. Cinderford 2, Thatcham 2. Cinderford won 5-4 on penalties. Then also,
trophy, yeah?
Sorry?
Was that in the trophy, yeah?
Yeah, that was in the trophy. And then moving on to the Vase. So it's the curse again. So Winterton 5. Is it Winterton Rangers? Winterton 5, Goole 1. So Goole are out of the Vase. More locally, Long Levens 0, Shaftesbury 3. So that must be our Long Levens, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
And Tuffley 1, Street 4. Fisher FC 1, Bad Shot Lee 2. So I'm guessing that's the Dogon Arif Fisher, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that sounds to me, because I don't think they were called Fisher FC before. So that sounds to me like they've reformed as well.
Yeah, I think so. The Fisher Athletic before. Okay.
And so just going back to that Liverpool game again. So Griezeman, he got a red card in that game. So it was for foot up. And sorry to harp on about this, but I thought there were similarities with the Mane red card against Edison a few years ago. So, and the commentators were saying, well, it was a red card. But then I remember going back to that City Liverpool game a few years ago when Mane was sent off. I remember Stuart Robson saying he didn't even think it was a yellow card. So what's that all about? So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it wasn't. Look in the books, what I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. So
no, it's a bit. I've been a bit glib there. Actually, which Liverpool game was that? Was that the same game as the John Stones clearance off the line?
No, that was the 2-1. This was the 5-0 when Liverpool were down to 10 men. I think City were winning 1-0, and then Mane There was a ball. He was running onto a ball. Ederson came out to clear it, and the ball bounced high, and then Mane put his foot up, and it hit Ederson in the face. He had to be stretchered off. And
why?
Mane got
Why? Let me ask you that. Why did it be stretched off if he got a boot in the face? What was wrong with his legs?
Yeah, I mean, but he was taken. He had to be taken to hospital. His face was a mess. He missed. He couldn't play the rest of the game, so he was out.
No, right.
So
well, he could have stayed on his line then, shouldn't he?
Also in that game, we had the same old story. So Liverpool got the penalty, and what happens? The referee doesn't stand on his line, and the goalie doesn't stand on his line so that the penalty can be taken. We had all these shenanigans with holding up play and all that. I really think the refs, it seems to be all part of the drama now. So where it seems to have been normalised, where there's a penalty, so it's taken for granted now that the penalised team can hold up play for a couple of minutes, and ostensibly they're trying to argue their case that it wasn't a penalty, but actually what they're doing is they're trying to put the penalty taker off. So really, they need to stamp down on that.
Yeah, but most of the time they can do it now because there's a 4-minute delay while they check VAR. So
all right, I guess that gives them that bit of elbow room. Yeah. Also, I noticed Fati. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a Barcelona player. I noticed that they've got him on a contract, and there's a buyout clause. And how much is the buyout clause? It's €1 billion. So for me, that doesn't sound right. Okay, so why don't other clubs do that to stop the likes of Barcelona nicking their players? So why is it only Barcelona? I think maybe Real Madrid is similar, where they have these huge buyout clauses. Isn't that inflationary? I mean, isn't that one reason why we've got a lot of hyperinflation in football? And we saw that Paris Saint-Germain, they actually met the asking price, didn't they, a few years ago with Neymar?
Cheltenham have got a buyout clause on their players. You can have them for a pint and a packet of crisps.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Yeah. No, ISIS springs to mind, but anyway, I'm not bitter about that or anything.
Okay, and then also Martin Samuel, he writes for the Daily Mail, which I'm not a fan of, but he's actually my favorite sports writer. He's like a sports writer who basically the only one I can think of who tells it as it is. So he was going on about why is the Saudi money at Newcastle an issue, but it wasn't an issue when the Saudi Sports Authority, which is a government arm, I think they pumped 200 or 300 million into Manchester United, and we didn't hear a dicky bird about it. So what? I mean,
Manchester United.
Yeah.
It is. It's because it's Man United. It's like, I think there's a connection with the financiers of Newcastle were involved with the Qatar World Cup bid. Right? So they're pumping money in left, right, and centre, and everybody in this country was up in arms because we lost the bid to Qatar, didn't we?
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yeah.
Everybody up in arms about that. Oh, Saudi money this, Saudi money that, blah, blah, blah. And then they're doing the same with Newcastle. Oh, Saudi money this, Saudi money that. And yet when they do it for the likes of Man United, it's perfectly all right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, to me, that just shows how false a lot of our media are. I think also in that Qatar thing, of course, the plight of those workers is horrible. So, that's obviously got to be defended. But
Slave labour, isn't it?
Yeah, slave labour. But actually, I don't know whether it's still the case, but at least one of the employment agencies there is a British company based in Wolverhampton. So, and at the beginning, I think there was one report, it was reported, and then obviously they put a government notice on it. What's it called? I can't remember the name of it. And you don't hear anything about it anymore. So actually there is British involvement in that slave labor, but of course, you won't read about it in our newspapers.
Well, there's always been, British involvement in slave labour since the time began.
Yeah. So I think that's what we do a lot. We keep talking about Johnny Foreigner, how rotten they are, and we ignore what's going on at home.
Yep.
Okay, and then you were talking about West Ham. I think was it you referring to the City game? I'm not sure. So West Ham knocked City out.
I was referring to United game. Yeah, I was referring to Man United initially, but yeah, they also did City as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so they knocked City out of the Carabao Cup on penalties. Phil Foden missed the first penalty, and that was the crucial miss. So on Phil Foden, I don't know. Have you any thoughts on him?
Needs to leave Man City.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because he's just been restricted, isn't he? He blows hot and cold in terms of favour, like the likes of Sterling at the moment. I don't know. Guardiola, on the one hand, he says he really rates Phil Foden. He thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, and then he leaves him on the bench. It's like, well, hang on a minute.
I don't know. I think you're reading the newspapers there, Jase. He's been playing as much as anybody. So I'm not sure about game time. He started on Saturday. He starts a lot of games. So actually, compared to anybody else, I'm pretty sure he's high on the list in the number of minutes he's playing. What about?
Well, I don't actually keep an eye. I don't keep an eye on Man City as much as you do, to be honest.
So, but what about playing ability? I mean, personally, I think he's a good player, but again, and City fans guilty of this. I think there's too much hype. I think he is a good player, but I also think
there's a difference between a good player and a great player.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I mean, he is a good player. I'm not saying he isn't, but I just think people are brushing over the flaws in his game as well. I mean, he still needs to improve on stuff. Yeah, so City got knocked out of the Carabao Cup. West Ham are on a bit of a roll. They beat Tottenham. I can't even remember that United game. They beat United. Was that in the league or what?
No, and beat West Ham. They beat Man in the Carabao Cup as well, didn't they?
Did they? I can't even remember that.
Yeah. So before they played Liverpool.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm getting a bit confused here. So anyway, and then they went and won at who did they win at? The other Villa, didn't they? The other day, 4-1. So they're on a bit of a roll. But I was just reading in that, going back to the early 60s, and a fourth division. In the old days, we just had Division 1, 2, 3, and 4. And was it 62? I think the League Cup started around that time. So that's right, yeah. So I was just reading on the BBC website about their manager. Do you know who their manager was?
Wasn't he a black guy?
Yeah, first black manager. He was the first black manager. He was also the first black manager, in England, let's say. So the first black manager to take an English club to a cup final as well. Yeah, so Rochdale, they got to the final. They lost, but yeah, and he'd fought in the war. But as a player, he'd been at Sheffield Wednesday, I think, when they were in the top flight, and the coaches just, they treated him badly. So that was back in the days when, you know, even things like the football boots, you know, that it wasn't like today, you know, where players have 30 personalized pairs of football boots that they haven't had to pay for because the bootmaker has given them to them. This was the days when the clubs bought the boots, and so he had one pair of boots that were too small for him. They made him play in those boots. They wouldn't. He kept telling them that he needed a bigger pair of boots. They wouldn't even pay for a bigger pair of boots for him. So he left. He left Wednesday, and then sort of went around the clubs a little bit in the lower leagues. But apparently, he was a good player. Yeah, Tony Collins. That was Tony Collins.
That was name.
Yeah, and that was back in the 60s. And then, because for a long time it was thought Keith Alexander at Lincoln was the first black manager when he was appointed at Lincoln in 1993. And then he, so I think he settled in Rochdale, and then he became a scout at Bristol City. So, for example, he discovered Jerry Gow, Tom Ritchie, who, I don't know about Jerry Gow, but we played against Tom Ritchie, I think, in a charity game.
Jerry Gow was there as well.
Jerry Gow was there as well, was he? Yeah, I don't know now, but Jerry Gow was in bad health. I think he went to America, so he was in bad health a year or two back, so I don't know how he's getting on. And then Tony Collins, he went to be the scout at Leeds when Don Revie was there. Okay.
There we go. Play for Man City as well.
He did. He so when Malcolm Allison returned to Man City at the end of the 70s, do you remember? And he spent a load of money, and he spent a lot of money on Steve Daly and Michael Robinson, rest in peace, and I can't remember the guy's name now. Jerry Gow died in 2016. Well, sorry, I made a mistake then. I'm thinking of somebody else. So sorry about that. Yeah, I think I was mixing him up with Neil Nab. I didn't realise Jerry Gow had passed away. So yeah, I think I was mixing him up with Neil Nab, who also plays for City. So anyway, yeah, City. Yeah, he played for City in the early 80s, and he was part of the team that revived the club after Malcolm Allison had sort of done away with the old guard that had seen City lose the title to Liverpool by 1 point after Dave Watson slipped in the penultimate game, and David Fairclough nicked a goal to equalise. So actually, City were a very good team in the 70s, although they didn't win the title, but they were still a very good team. And Malcolm Allison, at the end of the 70s, he dismantled that team, brought in a load of young players, and as Alan Hansen was always saying, you never win anything with kids. So Malcolm Allison got the boot. John Bond came in. He brought in a load of old hands: Jerry Gow, Bobby McDonald, Tommy Hutchinson, and suddenly City were trouncing everybody. And they went to the FA Cup final, and that was the replay, the 3-2, one of the best FA Cup final. Okay, it was the replay, but I think it, even though I'm biased, obviously, I still think it's one of the best cup finals I've seen. So rest in peace, Jerry Gow. So Arsenal, they look like they're improving. Have you seen anything of them?
Yeah, I think they've turned a bit of a corner. but still Arsenal, they look a bit in place, you know. I mean, Arsenal. They're Ramsdale with his otherly love gloves. He's saving everything at the moment. He'll be the England #1 before long.
Reckon? Yeah, just I was watching the Leicester Arsenal game. So Arsenal started off fantastically, got the 2-goal lead, but then after that, I thought Leicester on another day, Leicester would have pulled and pegged them back. But just
Ramsdale kept Arsenal in that game.
Yeah, well, I think I'm saying an episode or two back, I was surprised when he went to Arsenal, and the commentator Ian Dart was saying it was intended he'd just be a backup to Leno, and he's actually removed him. He's taken over the #1 spot. But apparently Aaron Ramsdale. Sorry?
You've seen the size of his gloves, though. Jesus, I could play in Arsenal's goal with those gloves.
Is it the old Kenny Everett gloves? He's got the old Kenny Everett gloves.
Yeah. Brotherly love, yeah, I'm telling you. He could be a wicket keeper with them gloves, mate.
But he's been through the league, so and most of his career he's just been going down or fighting relegation. He fought relegation with Wimbledon, Chesterfield. He went down with Bournemouth and Sheffield United, and there he is, helping Arsenal up into the upper reaches of the Premier League now. Yeah, I was laughing when I was watching that game. So the ball went up in the air, and Ian Dart was commentating, not my favourite commentator. Actually, that I don't think I have a favourite commentator at the moment. And the ball went up on the air, and what did he say when it came down? I haven't heard it for a long time.
It had snow on it.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a long, long time. He said it almost came down with snow on it. So I haven't heard that one in a long time.
I've used it recently. The old ones are the best. Yeah, on the subject of commentators, you know, it's always one of our favourite topics, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you say, there aren't for me, there aren't any real standout commentators like there used to be. You know, you always knew that if you watch Match of the Day, the best game would be Barry Davis or John Motson. But there aren't any real standout ones. Martin Tyler's diary just dribbles his way all the way through it.
But for me, I think also there are a couple of differences. Is one, like you were saying, dribbling away. I mean, I think we talked about this before. Actually, the old commentators, they didn't dribble away. They just, and there'd be periods of silence.
Yeah.
If you were watching a game, if there was nothing to say, they wouldn't say it. It's just like.
Exactly.
So,
and you don't need, in my opinion, you don't need these co-commentators.
That's
you just
right.
Don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Brian Moore that started that bloody fad by having the likes of David Pleat and bloody Ron Atkinson and Kevin Keegan alongside him. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? You need all this. You don't need it. A commentator is there to commentate on what you can't see, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, if you're watching the telly, you can see it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, hang on, I can see it. You don't have to bloody tell me what's just happened. Yeah. I can see it. Thanks very much. If I was listening to radio, I'd want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're there just to confirm. So maybe you don't know who it is, who the player is, especially back in the 70s. The figure could be this size and you wouldn't know if it was A from B, you know?
Yeah, I'm not being funny. Now, on my 50-inch telly, they've got their names on the back. I can see who they are. Thanks very much.
Yeah. But also, you know, back in the day, Hugh Johns wouldn't be telling you that Willie Carr used to play for this team in Scotland and had played 21 games in a row without injury. I mean, we've got all these stats and they're reading from a script. But for me, the other difference, and there's not only that difference, but to me, it was just the voice. Their voice.
So what really? Yeah, their voice. Yeah, but what really bugs me, right? It's particularly with Martin Tyler, right? So let's say Liverpool are playing, right? So you've got Alexander-Arnold's got the ball on the right.
Yeah.
Right. He passes it infield to Fabinho, right? And it's about a 10-foot pass, maybe. So he goes, Alexander-Arnold to Fabinho. Fabinho then knocks it back to him, same 10-foot distance. And he goes, Fabinho to Alexander-Arnold. And I'm like, I know who he's just passed it to. I know who's passing it back to him. You don't have to tell me, right? Seriously, it does my bloody head in.
Yeah. For me, I think it's the same in other sports, similar in other sports. So in horse racing, for example, I've heard media people say, "Oh, I like this commentator because he calls it right." But for me, I just, like you were saying, we can see a lot of the stuff that they're repeating. It's just the voice for me. In horse racing, for example, I used to love listening to Peter O'Sullivan commentating, and in the rugby, yeah, Peter in the rugby union, Ian McLaren. Like what? I can't remember. McLaren, yeah, Bill McLaren, not Ian McLaren. Bill McLaren.
Bill McLaren.
Fantastic voices.
Bill McLaren.
Their voices created the excitement. Just the pitch of their voice, the sound of their voice made it exciting. You were talking about that, Jackie Oatley. Jackie Oatley, you're talking about the ladies commentator, Jackie Oatley. It's like she's trying to make it not exciting, you know what I mean?
Oh, jeez. I've been slated for saying it as well, and it's just like, saying you just really. I mean, I get it, but I also don't get it at the same time. It's like,
but I think Martin Tyler's the same. It's not exciting listening to you, mate. I mean, you're dire.
He is dire. He's dire. And I'll tell you what, I'm up to 149 now. 149 times I've tweeted John Coleman. Sorry, Jonathan Pearce, not Jonathan Coleman. Jonathan Pearce, right? I've tweeted him 149 times saying, goalposts haven't been out of wood since 1968, mate. Do not say woodwork. It drives me up the wall.
Do I say woodwork? I'm not sure. I might still say woodwork, to be honest.
They're made out of metal. They was made out of metal when I was playing as a kid.
Did I read, going back a while, that Liverpool have a throw-in coach? Is that right? They have a coach for throw-ins?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I just watching City play there the other day, and I've noticed in other games where I think you're taking the throw-in, but you're going to give the ball back to the opposition. If you ever, so I mean, is it something you give much thought to, throw-ins, or you don't care about them? I mean, it's.
Well, we'll see in the past couple of years. Ben Tozer at Cheltenham, I thought about it a bit more, but I don't understand why some players are long throw specialists and others can't throw it 2 foot in front of them. It's like it's the same process. It's like I don't understand. I can't compute as to why some can't do it and some can. It's a bit like it's a bit like when we used to play cricket and you used to get some players that could not for their life throw the ball the boundary back to the wicket keeper. Right.
Well, I think, to be honest, I had a bad arm, but I used to manage to get it back there. But it might have bounced. It depends on the size of the pitch. But I didn't have a long throw. But some of it is physical. I mean, my arms are pretty short. I think also I think I might have a dodgy arm as well, to be honest. So, but I always used to be able to get it back, even if it bounced. But some of those grounds, I used to dread it if I was an outfielder and the bloody ground was a huge ground.
I used to dread it more when I was out on the boundary and the ball was coming down with snow on it, mate. That's what I used to dread more than throwing it back. Because I always knew that ball was going to bounce out of my hands. Even if I had it like a bucket, it was going to bounce out of my hands.
Actually,
they're going to hit me in the face.
Yeah, catching was something I wasn't bad at, actually, to be honest, if I say so myself.
Well, I remember taking 5 catches in a match for Barker Casuals once, and then getting told that my reward for doing so was buying a round in the pub afterwards. If I'd known that, I'd have dropped the football. Oh,
yeah. If you remember John Beck, do you remember Cambridge United? They were doing a bit of a Wimbledon, and John Beck was their manager, and I think Dion Dublin was there at the time, and they used to just kick the ball into the corners on the basis that they would win the ball back from the throw-in and cause problems like that.
Yeah. Wimbledon were a bit like that as well. And Tranmere, when they had Dave Challoner.
Yeah.
So could Rory Blapp as well.
Yeah. I mean, related to that, I mean, with all the goals Cheltenham, all the mayhem Cheltenham causing the last few seasons with the long throw-in, including against City. I noticed in that Sheffield Wednesday game, I think all the 4 goals were from set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a good win for Crystal Palace. I think it was similar to the game against Southampton that City drew 0-0 at home. And I think there are going to be a few others. I was watching a video about Rinus Michels. He was the legendary Dutch coach when they were a powerhouse in the 70s. And they were interviewing, it was an old Johnny Rep interview. And he was recalling the 74 World Cup final because they just strolled to the World Cup final. And then he says in the World Cup final, they'd forgotten that they had to score goals. It was like they were more worried about just playing the total football and forgotten that you're also, part of it is putting the ball in the net. And I've got that same feeling about what City are doing at the moment. I mean, it's like they're more concerned about playing in a particular style and forgotten that, you want to score some goals as well along the way. So
just digressing slightly, I just remember watching the Holland-Scotland game with my granddad, and the commentator's going, and here comes Johnny Rep, and my granddad sitting in his chair looking over his paper, not even interested in the football, looking over his paper going, Johnny Rep, that sounds like a condom salesman. Putting his paper back.
Yeah, that reminds me of my brother telling me when he was staying with my uncle in Coventry, going back a long, long time. All my cousins were in the room, and it was a Thursday night. They were watching Top of the Pops, and I think "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me" was in the charts. And so Boy George was singing away, with the dreadlocks and all that. And my uncle said, "Oh, she's nice."
Oh dear.
So so good win for Palace. So I think you were saying you were singing Patrick Vieira's praises the other week. So yeah, they won at City a few years back, actually, a 3-2 when Hodgson was there, when Andros, what's his name? Andros Townsend? What's his first name? Yeah. He scored was it goal? It might even have been goal of the season. He scored a cracker. And it was a similar game to that. And again, Palace, they got the early goal and then they just made life difficult for City. And City had a goal disallowed. It was offside, but it was one of those very marginal ones that makes you wonder how thick the line is. And Laporte got sent off. So it'll be interesting to see whether Crystal Palace, I mean, they played a good game at Arsenal, didn't they, the other week? So it'll be interesting to see whether they can maintain that.
I see, just looking tonight, I've seen Wolves beat Everton 2-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they also, Everton lost at home, didn't they, to Watford? Was it a 5-2?
Yeah. That was Wolves' first game out of the mauling by Liverpool.
Also, it seems that Newcastle are not having problems finding somebody to coach the team. And maybe what's happening at Man United, Newcastle looking for somebody. Do you think that's why Tottenham seem to have moved quickly for Conte by the looks of it? Do you think they could all be related?
Obviously, yeah, of course. They've had talks with him tonight. So yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't suggest otherwise, to be honest.
Yeah, I think whoever's not going to get Conte will regret it, because I think if he goes to Tottenham, Tottenham will improve.
Well, it can't get any worse, to be fair. But I'm wondering whether what's his face, Eddie Howe, who's going to make some kind of a comeback soon.
Yeah, he was rumoured. He was linked. Yeah, it's been a bit strange why he hasn't returned to management.
I just think he wanted a break, didn't he? But I could see him going to Norwich, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be a good fit. Anyway, so of course, Palace had a good win at City, and then what happens? Zaha gets a load of racist abuse on Instagram. So,
of course.
And I kind of agree with him. He was saying, I don't want to hear any sympathy about that racist abuse. I want to see some action. So again, in that game, he didn't take the knee. He stood up. And I kind of agree. We talked about this as well before. I agree with him. Nothing's happening. This is just what's going on with the knee is just tokenism in my view, because it's just what will happen is it will just peter out, and the situation just won't change. So I kind of agree with him.
I don't think the situation will change until I'm not. To be honest, it happens in football, and the reason it happens in football is because every other single thing that is deplorable also happens in football, right? Also happens on the terrace. So whether it's racial abuse, whether it's homophobic abuse, whether it's groping females that are stood quite close to you, all of that kind of stuff, all happens at football, right? Until those things are stamped out in general life, they're going to carry on happening in football, because football is the place where people think they can
get away with it
and get away with it, and they do get away with it, to be fair. All of those kind of things that you've seen it on so many documentaries and stuff. So you get like the ultra thugs and stuff, right? They'll go along and they'll beat the crap out of somebody or whatever on the terrace or outside in the car park or down the street or whatever. And yet they're a high-powered businessman with a really high-powered job in a bank or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And they're allowed to carry on doing that job. Now, for me, I think anybody caught doing that and they're in a job like that, you're out, mate.
Yeah.
You're out. You're on the rock and roll, mate.
Yeah.
And you're doing a bit of bird at the same time. That's what I'd be saying. And until they start punishing it,
yeah,
they're not going to stop it.
Yeah, I was just reading a bit about Messi the other day. So I think Guardiola was saying, and somebody else, Valverde, who was a former Barcelona coach, they were talking about why Messi, I haven't really noticed it, but they were saying at the beginning of games, he just walks around for 10 minutes. You don't see him running around or anything. He's just walking around. And
Can I digress about something else while I think about it?
Go ahead. Go ahead. So go ahead.
On ticketing, right? So, as we know, Cheltenham playing Pompey tomorrow. As you know, I'm a Cheltenham fan living in Pompey, right?
Yeah.
So I go onto the Cheltenham website to see about tickets and stuff, and it says, "Oh yeah, if you can't get to the ground, you can pick your tickets up from Portsmouth." Great, I think. So I go onto the website.
Yeah.
It gets me right away through the whole buying the ticket process.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Fratton Park's got turnstiles where you can actually, if you've got a ticket on your phone, you can just show it to the turnstile, reads the barcode, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Inexplicable reason, Cheltenham Town don't have the facility to print tickets with a barcode or send you tickets on your phone with a barcode. Right. So, archaic though it may sound, you still have to have a physical ticket, right? So I go through all the process and I pay 25 quid for a ticket.
Yeah.
Ridiculous amount of money. But anyway, 25 for a ticket. So I go through, do the checkout, and I'm thinking, well, where's the instructions about how I get my ticket? So then I had to email the actual ticket company. It's Jesus. So, yeah, and they say to me, "Oh yeah, if you are unable to pick up your ticket from Cheltenham Town, right?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but that option wasn't there to select, right? If you're unable to pick up your ticket, you'll be able to collect it from the ground at Fratton Park." And I went, "Yeah, when, right?" And they went, "Well, the tickets will be sent up on the team bus, so about 90 minutes before kickoff." Right? So I said, "All right, where have I got to pick them up from then?" "Oh, Fratton Park ticket office." Do you know where Fratton Park ticket office is? Fratton Park ticket office is right in the middle of the main home fans entrance to Fratton Park. So I've got to rock up there 90 minutes before kickoff, asking for an away ticket that has hopefully been delivered on the Cheltenham Town team bus. How bloody ridiculous is that? Seriously.
Yeah,
do you know what he said to me, right? Do you know what he said to me? He said, "Well, why can't you pick the ticket up from Cheltenham Town?" I said, "Because I live in Portsmouth."
Well, that's not
right?
any. But that's not.
He said, "Oh no," and then he said, "Well, why aren't you supporting Portsmouth then?"
I mean,
I nearly said, "Why aren't you selling life insurance?" Do you know what I mean? Yeah, now.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds something similar to when I went to the World Cup here in Japan. The FA didn't send me my tickets here, and I had to pick them up from a tent they had put up outside the stadiums at the grounds. But when I got there, they didn't know anything about me, and it was like
it must be when I made ACDC for the Park France, right, online. And the day arrived, I bought it about 3 months before, right? No ticket, and I'm sending emails, every 5 minutes saying, "Where's my ticket? Where's my ticket?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, it'll be here, right?" The day before, I'm like, "Still haven't had my ticket." "All right, what you got to do is go to turnstile or whatever at the Parc des Princes and meet this guy outside." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So I get all the way to the Parc des Princes, no guy to be seen. Did I get into the concert? No, I didn't.
Wow, bloody hell.
Did I get my money? No, I didn't. Yeah, I know. So it just reeks to me. It just reeks of it. It's like, why can you not just send me a ticket on my phone with barcode that I can just walk up to the turnstile, bang, there you go, I got my ticket.
What happens if you leave your phone somewhere or the battery's dead on your phone. You don't get in.
Well, that's your own fault, isn't it? Right? If you do that, that's your own fault. Well, it is, right? It is. Whereas if I rock up at Fratton Park, right, and my ticket isn't on the bloody Cheltenham Town team bus, whose fault's that? It ain't mine.
Okay, getting back to Messi, like apparently for the first 10 minutes he just walks around. So you watch most games, everybody's running around. He's just wandering around, and there are a couple of reasons he does that. One is because obviously the other team have got their eyes on him. So by him doing that, it allows his team to keep the ball because they're all preoccupied with him. And the other thing is he's just eyeing up. He's eyeing up the defence. He's just looking for a weak spot. So
it also allows him to play 90 minutes as well.
Yeah, that could be something to do with it. Yeah.
You know what? I used to do that when I used to play for Preston Beefeaters. I used to spend the first 10 minutes walking around, and then John would take me off after 15.
Yeah, just getting back to that. It was nice to see you. You were talking like 3,000 for that Chelsea game. So I was just looking at the highlights for the Wednesday game, Sheffield Wednesday game. It was nice to see the ground so full, but it just brought back memories to the days when when the ground wouldn't be so full. And I can remember you one Saturday afternoon, Cheltenham were at home to Telford, and Kevin Charlton. He was a well-known. He was an England non-league international, and he was well known in Cheltenham because he played a blinder when Cheltenham had arrived in the conference or whatever the league was called, and played a blinder to get them a 1-1 draw. But I remember he came back, and I think he was one of those guys who was saying Wadham Road wasn't the same on a Saturday afternoon to on a Tuesday or Wednesday night under the floodlights. And I remember, because you could hear all the echoes and people or anything that people said. So I remember he had the ball. I remember he had the ball in his hands, and he sort of released the ball to boot it. And I mean, it was one of those times seemed to stand still where between releasing the ball and his boot touching the ball, suddenly there was a shout from you, "Get on with it, you fat git." And and even though, so there was that release from the ball, your "Get on with it, you fat git." And even then, before his boot connected with the ball, there was still time for his head to turn and look and pick you out in the crowd. To eyes daggers, That just brings back memories of those days, in the smaller grounds where the players can hear everything that the supporters are saying, In other words,
remember that guy, the bloody El Brooks? Do you remember him?
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about him, but I remember him.
He go, "Bloody hell, Brooks," and he'd even do it if Brooks he wasn't playing.
I can remember his face. He had glasses, didn't he? And a kind of a thin face.
Even if he wasn't playing, it'd still be "Bloody hell, Brooks."
That's right. Yeah.
Geez.
Yeah, another one because you were kind of you'd often voice your opinion during games. So another one I remember from you was, I think it was against a northern team, maybe Northwich or somebody like that. And the central defender was given whoever our striker was, sort of pulling his shirt or hugging him or something. And I remember you shouting out, "Ref, he's got his hands all over him." And the ref shouts back, it's a man's game. That always makes me laugh. Which I think infuriated you even more.
Yeah. And then there was the famous Wendy Toms incident, which we won't repeat on air. Anyway.
Okay, so yeah, not long left, Jase. So let's have a preview of midweek and the weekend coming up. So you were saying Cheltenham at Portsmouth tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think it'd be tough because if Cheltenham managed to get 3 points, they'd be, I think, 3 points off the playoffs, and they jump above Portsmouth in the table as well. And for the last couple of weeks, they have been above Portsmouth in the table. But I think optimistically, I think they've got to be lucky if they get a point at Fratton Park. To be honest,
yeah,
Cheltenham is the sort of team that I know. Well, certainly know, obviously, a lot of Pompey fans as well. They're actually rubbing their hands together with anticipation of playing Cheltenham. Oh, they are. They literally are, because they know that they've been on a bit of a sticky patch. I know they beat Bolton on Saturday, but they've been on a bit of a sticky run, and I think they're thinking, "Oh yeah, we beat Bolton on Saturday. We'll get another 3 points against Cheltenham. Here we go," kind of thing. And they will be more than up for it on Tuesday.
So if they beat Cheltenham, you'll be getting a bit of stick about that.
Yeah, and me, I'll be voicing it back as well. I'll be walking home through the Pompey lot. You can imagine, can't you? What's going to be fun though? I like to be in a ground 90 minutes before kick-off, as you know.
Yeah.
Not bloody queuing for a ticket in amongst all the Pompey Blues, to be fair, with the bloody Cheltenham shirt on that says champions on it, just to wind them up even more.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, City are at United.
I think Cheltenham fans get a lot of respect from Pompey fans when they beat us 6-1 to win the title, and we stayed behind to applaud them for winning the title and that. And I think some of the Cheltenham fans actually went on the pitch with them as well. So I think they got a lot of respect, but all that'll be forgotten about tomorrow night. You know that. You just know it.
Yeah, City are playing United at the weekend, so tough away game. So with losing the Palace, a defeat at United, and it could see City a long way off the pace in the league, in my opinion.
I think you're jumping the gun. They're no way out of it yet. I think they just had a bad day at the office against Palace.
But the thing is,
they had a bad day.
Yeah, the thing is with Guardiola, though, he always proves you wrong. So
I think it'll be a draw, City United, to be honest.
Also, FA Cup. It's FA Cup weekend coming up, so it's the first round proper. So teams we've been following, Maidenhead. So that Pontefract Collieries looks like they got beaten by Halifax in the cup. So Maidenhead are playing at Halifax. But I don't think that's the Halifax we grew up with. I think that's a reformed Halifax.
Yeah, it is. Is it Halifax AFC or AFC Halifax or something?
Yeah, like something like that.
So they still play at the Shea, though. They still play at the Shea.
Oh, really? So let's just see what happens there. Cheltenham are at Gillingham.
Well, Steve Evans will be plotting revenge for the League Cup defeat, won't he? And he'll get it as well. Okay,
and then let's just look at some of the league's positions and so on. So, so Liverpool are second in the Premier, Fulham are second in the Championship, Wigan second in League One, Port Vale. So a bit of a revival from Port Vale. Of course, it's only early in the season, but they're a team I follow because they're a Stoke team, Stoke-on-Trent team, and I went to university at Keele. I also, believe it or not, you were talking about co-commentators, although I didn't really do any co-commentating. I co-commentated for Hospital Radio at a Port Vale game. going going back when I was at university there, because my mate, he was a Vale fan, and he used to do the hospital radio commentaries for them. So as I say, he didn't let me say anything during while the game was on, but at half time, he just put the mic in my hand, wandered off, and I was expected to talk. So I'd hate to know how that sounded on the other end. Although I sometimes wonder whether he was just pulling my leg, and there was nobody could hear anything. I was just talking to myself.
What he did, he gave you the mic like that, gave you the mic, and with his other hand, he just pulled a lead out.
Yeah, I always wonder about that. So I've always got a bit.
Meanwhile, the people in hospital beds are listening to lift music.
That's right. Yeah, I always wonder about that. Anyway, I've got a bit of a soft. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Port Vale. Who's that guy who scores all their goals? He always scored the goals against Cheltenham. What was his John
Stead? No.
Yeah, is it the centre forward? The centre forward. He scored against Man City in the FA Cup as well.
Is it John Stead?
Is it John? I think it's somebody else. I can't remember his name. And he.
They've got what's his face? George Lloyd. They've got him now, haven't they? From Cheltenham, and they've also got Scott Brown still, or is he not playing for him anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that guy also criticised John Stones before that City game, and then he goes and scores a bloody header. But I noticed when he played Cheltenham, Cheltenham would lose to this team, to Port Vale, and this guy would score a hat trick. What's his bloody name? I think it was John something. Okay, National League. Grimsby are in second in the National League. St Albans, name from the past, they're second. National League South. Brackley, second in National League North. Which leads.
What's I'm doing?
Yeah, I don't know how they're getting on, to be honest. I didn't know this. Maybe we can have a look for next time.
They had what's his name, Ryan Reynolds, and the American owners there on Saturday.
Yeah,
with a statement saying, "Oh, we'll be in the Premier League in 5 years." And I'm like, how's that looking out for you?
Yeah. Also,
got beat on.
Also, foreign league. I picked out the Australian league. They're in off season at the moment, but I think I don't know what goes on in Australia. It might be a little bit like the American system where they play a league, play the league fixtures, and then they have playoffs. So Melbourne City won the top of the league, but I don't know how they got on in the playoffs. Okay,
I'm a Sydney FC fan. Anyway.
Yeah, I think they won it. They were top of the league a couple of years back. Anyway, getting on to our all-time 11s. So last time I couldn't think of a midfielder, so I had to think about it, and I thought Gary Neville was saying there the other week where you've got to have a workhorse in your midfield. So I chose Maradona, but I've been trying to think of a more defensive midfielder to go alongside him. So names that crossed my mind were Graham Souness, Roy Keane, even Kante, Lothar Matthäus, or however you pronounce his name. And to be honest, I'm not convinced, but I eventually chose Claude Makelele. So,
really?
Yeah. Although I'm not convinced about on the attacking side of things, but as a defensive midfielder, he was one of those kind of gangly, very difficult, stuck to you like glue defensive midfielders, very difficult to beat. So I eventually chose him. So I think we were going to choose a right winger. So just to recap our teams up until now. So your goalie is Ray Clements. Right back is Daniel Passarella. Left back is your left back is Roberto Carlos. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your central defensive pairing was Ruud Krol.
Yep.
And I can't remember who's the other guy.
Handsome, wasn't it?
Alan Hansen, yeah. And you had as midfielder. Who was your midfielder?
Well, we were going on the right. Were we going on the right of midfield?
Yeah, maybe. So you had, was it Cruyff? You chose Cruyff? Was it Johan Cruyff?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I just go through mine. So mine is in goal. Neville Southall, right back Cafu, left back was Maldini, central pairing at the back was Desai and Beckenbauer, Maradona, and then Makaleli. So who did you have? You had Cruyff, and who was your other midfielder? I can't remember.
I can't. Oh, did I say Best? Was it Best?
I think you went for another. I think you went for another Dutch player. Yeah, George Best. You chose George Best. That's right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, to the right. I went for George Best on the right, didn't I?
Yeah, you kind of went more for a more inverted midfield, whereas I put George Best.
Yeah, but the thing is with George Best, he could play right or left, couldn't he?
Yeah. I was looking clips. I was looking at some of his old clips the other yesterday actually, and I put him in as my right winger. To be honest, again, I mean, you know, there are lots of other players that could have been considered and might even be better, but I chose George Best. So how about you, Jase? Who are you going to add to your team?
So where am I putting George Best? Am I going to put him on the left side of midfield? Because he played number 7 and number 11.
You can play him wherever you want, to be honest. I mean, and to be honest, players move around these days a lot as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah. I remember, obviously, I don't want to really go for the Liverpool connection, but I remember Steve Highway was pretty phenomenal on the wing.
Yeah. He was more left. He was more left wing, wasn't he? Was he left wing?
Yeah, he was left wing. Yeah, left wing wearing the number 9 shirt.
That's right. Brian Callahan, didn't he wear number 10?
11.
11 was it?
Yeah, Callahan was 11. Yeah, Toshak was 10. I mean, I suppose I've got to say the first right winger that I was really aware of as a right winger that was going to cause you some problems was Steve Coppell. So it pains me though it does to 2 United players. I think I'm going to have to go with Steve Coppell. I think.
Right.
So
yeah.
Steve Coppell and George Best on the left. We'll go with Cruyff on the inside left. So next week I'll probably be going inside right, probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. Steve Coppell did a good job for United, but I wouldn't have him anywhere near my 11. I think, you know, George Best has a bit of stardust. I don't think Steve Coppell does. But Cruyff, obviously.
I mean, John Barnes takes a bit of ignoring as well when he was at his peak.
Yeah, he was good. But what sticks in my mind about those players is their England, how they played for England, you know. So, you know, you can look at Cruyff. Yeah. You can look at Cruyff.
Well, that was the system. They weren't allowed to express themselves.
That's right.
Weren't. I mean, look about it before. The flair players that we had over the years, that when they got into the England side, geez, it's like somebody was saying about the other day that never played for England. Jimmy Case never got an England cap.
Yeah,
how was that even possible?
Yeah, I think you said that actually. I saw your tweet. You said it. I think.
All right. Yeah, but I'm sure I responded to somebody else. Somebody else said it first. Okay. And I'm like, how did he not get an England cap? It was just like unbelievable. And Frank Worthington only had a couple as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Frank Worthington, what a class player, Frank Worthington. Stan Bowles had a hat full of England caps.
Yeah.
Tony Curry.
Yeah.
You know, all those flair players like Hoddle, you know, even up to a point until Venables, Gascoigne wasn't really allowed to express himself.
Criminal. Anyway, I gotta go, Jase.
All right, mate.
Okay,
so we'll catch up soon, yeah?
Yeah, if it's all right with you, we'll do it again next week. Okay.
I shall be reporting back tomorrow with a glum face, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Okay, see you then.